Hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar hosted by Ciphr. We're looking today at switching payroll providers doesn't have to be scary. So today we'll be demystifying some of that anxiety that you might have around moving payroll providers. I'm Catherine, I'm Head of Marketing here at Ciphr. I'm joined by Amanda, our Payroll Sales Manager. Welcome Amanda, how are you?
Hi, I'm really well. Yeah, really excited for today's session. Thanks, Catherine.
Fantastic. And I'm also thrilled to be joined by Kahini, who's our implementation consultant and payroll specialist here at Ciphr. Welcome, Kahini. How are you?
Thank you. Very well, thank you. Really excited about today.
Fantastic. Great to have you with us. Here's a quick look at our agenda. I'll share a little bit about Ciphr just up top in case you haven't come across us before, and then I'll hand over to Amanda and Kahini. They'll take you through the process of switching payroll providers, considerations about when to make the switch, some of those common worries when it comes to changing provider, and we'll also take a quick look at what's new from Ciphr Payroll. At the end, we'll have time for a question and answer session. So if you have questions for Kahini or for Amanda, use the Q&A section on the platform to send those in, and we will tackle those as best we can at the end. So as I mentioned, please do send in those questions. You can also use the public chat area to say hi and share where you're working or any challenges you're encountering at the moment in your payroll team. This webinar is being recorded and the recording will be emailed to you afterwards. So you can revisit any part of it or share it with a colleague if you'd like. Before I hand over to our experts, here's a quick overview of what we do here at Ciphr. Our solutions and services cover every element of the employee lifecycle, right from recruitment and onboarding through to central HR, payroll software, as we're talking about today. We also offer a payroll bureau or outsourced payroll service, as well as an employee benefits platform, LMS and e-learning software services, and D&IB consultancy. So there's loads of solutions from us that we won't be touching on today. If you're interested to learn more about any of those, you can email us at info@ciphr.com, or you can find us online at ciphr.com, and hopefully everything you need is there. Right, with that, I'm going to hand over to our presenters. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Catherine. I'm going to take the first part of the presentation, and then I'll hand over to Kahini to take you through the implementation process. But first of all, we thought it might be useful to take a look at how and why you would ever switch your payroll provider. Part of my role, I'm meeting with prospective customers to Ciphr who could be using any from a vast range of different payroll suppliers, services and bureaus across the UK. So I've set out here some of the common problems that we find are experienced by companies and organisations that we're meeting with every week at Ciphr. These errors can have a direct impact on employee morale and even their financial situation. Every payroll manager that I've met, without exception, has a really strong loyalty to the delivery of an accurate payroll and the welfare of their colleagues or their customers' employees. So from one payroll to the next, payroll can be really complex. There's starters, leavers, people are changing hours, taking leave, and you might be managing multiple conditions of service. Then there's pensions, tax, other compliance issues to consider. So choosing the right payroll solution for you means assessing your current processes really carefully. So think about the time that's being spent on manual tasks, whether your team has the right training and qualifications, the impact of those payroll errors from underpayments, late payments, onto employee well-being and motivation. Mistakes can be costly. They can be time-consuming to fix and damaging to both morale and your employee retention, and ultimately your bottom line for your organisation. So getting payroll right is essential for so many different reasons. In our early conversations with customers, a common theme emerges that payroll processes are taking too much time, and there could be a lot of manual data entry, duplication of effort, constant checking and reconciling, which all takes up manual time. One way to simplify this could be to use an integrated HR and payroll solution. So with that single point of data entry, single source of truth, you can log all of those changes directly in HR, and then to have those changes flow seamlessly through into your payroll. So it's key then that the calculations are automatically applied using your company's payrolls. That could include handling complex scenarios like sickness. You could have a lot of different sickness schemes that you're supporting, maternity and parental leave, average holiday pay. Holiday is always a hot topic. And pension contributions. And again, you could have multiple pension schemes, different contribution groups, salary sacrifice, non-sacrifice. So you can see there's a lot to manage. So an integrated approach is not only going to save you time, but also reduce errors, improve compliance, and give you more confidence in your payroll processes. So this list here, these are the things that we most often find that people want to fix when they're looking to change their payroll. So take a really close look at your current processes before you even think about what change might look like. And then you can really put your future vision into action. So let's break that down a little bit. And how do you go about changing your payroll? You will have to meet with salespeople. But please don't worry, we're not scary, or we certainly shouldn't be scary. We are here to help. We can share experiences of how to have a successful review. I'm going to broadly split my thoughts on this into sort of functional requirements and then non-functional as well. It'll all become clear. The very first starting point should always be to have a look at your current supplier. That's always an option. Talk to your account manager. There could be some improvements that you haven't considered. Maybe there are upgrades or new functionality available. It just might be that things aren't set up correctly. You need some better configuration. Or there might be add-ins or new modules that can help improve the way your system currently works. As part of any business case, always have a look at what you've got now and can that be improved. Choosing the right service level is really the next big decision. You might currently have your payroll in-house, you might need to outsource it, or maybe somewhere in between. A part-managed solution might be the best for you, again, depending on your attitude to risk and the resources that you have for running your payroll. So this conversation really should be a cross-department conversation as well, involve IT, because systems are going to be, and data are going to be involved, your HR department, the finance team and the payroll team. There's a lot of people that you'll need to align right from the start. Payroll is going to touch a lot of different parts of your business, so make sure everyone's aware when you start to undertake this sort of review. Being better prepared with this sort of information will mean that you can have better informed discussions with payroll vendors. You might not have the resources to continue with an in-house service. Perhaps colleagues are moving on. It could be a risk management process for you. Perhaps those colleagues are taking skills or knowledge from your department away with them. A salesperson should be able to give you an impartial view of the impacts of changing a service level, particularly the different aspects of payroll. Or if they're not able to do that themselves, they should always be comfortable to introduce you to different people in their organisation, project managers, consultants, and that they'll always be able to share experiences of previous projects and the way that they work with their customers. Just on that as well, you might seek resource and expertise from a third-party organisation to help you to navigate this. Ciphr do work alongside some really fantastic organisations and independent consultants, and they will absolutely help you, guide you through from end to end. Most payroll people do so much on a regular basis that actually it can be a bit of an eye-opener to start documenting everything. You might already have a payroll manual, for example, or a checklist that you've created in-house as part of your internal processes and risk management. That's going to be a really good place to start. Use of AI can really help you to document your requirements lists. It's pretty smart now at creating those lists and also grabbing information from vendors' websites for you. So that's quite a good place to start to explore. But we often hear from people as well that you don't know what you don't know. So again, starting to talk to salespeople will really help to develop your ideas and your future vision. But we absolutely appreciate it can be a little bit daunting at the start. So do prepare your requirements, create a list of key requirements for your payroll. Share that list with vendors in advance. That can be really useful if possible, so that can help guide the conversation when you do come to meet with them. And then they can be prepared to address your priorities as well. That list then, can continue to develop. You might need formal written responses to that requirement list for assurance of the vendor's capabilities. And it may also form the basis of a formal RFP or tender process further down the line. I'm going to give a shout to the CIPP at this point as well. The CIPP software guide is absolutely brilliant. I'm sure we can provide you with a link to it. But that's going to really help you as well to benchmark providers and narrow down that list of the vendors that look like they're going to be a good fit for you. Okay. So moving on then. So once you start those conversations with a vendor, what are the sort of questions you should be asking them? So have a look at their customer base. Most vendor websites will have a place where it will give you testimonials and case studies and so on for people that they work with. So who are those customers? Are they the right size and industry to match you? Might you be a little fish in a big pond? What might the service be like for you in that scenario? Or are you too big for them and you'll outgrow them very quickly? Really, you don't want to make a habit of changing your payroll provider. It is, there is a lot of work involved. So make sure they're a good fit for you, not only now, but into the future as well. Is that vendor familiar with the nuances of your industry sector as well? So, for example, large volume hospitality payrolls, education sector, charity, retail care, all of these have very different requirements. So you might find that there's not a one size fits all in terms of the software. I've got to say also, you might not find a software vendor that does everything on your list. So, you've got to decide as well, where's that give going to be? Where are the top priorities for you? Yeah, ask them if you can speak to their customers as well. Ask them if you can have a chat for a real life view of what it's like to use that payroll solution. Implementation is key. Of course, this is going to be Kahini's big thing, so I'm not going to steal any of her thunder at all, but do ask, how long is it going to take to implement this system? Ask them about parallel running and how they test data. And sort of future scaling as well. You should also be asking things about data security. What are their accreditations? Can they provide you with proof of that? Certificates, business continuity. Where is the data held? And things like ISO 27001 data security certificates should be a minimum. I would say try to avoid the beauty parade. I don't know if that's the right term to use these days, but if you are talking to 20 plus suppliers, that might feel like it's a thorough process to you, but that's rarely going to be productive or a good use of your time or the vendor's time. Try to narrow it down so that you're focusing on a short list based on your needs and your budget. I would suggest as well, ask for a really short prep call with the salespeople as well before you invite them in for a big demo. I mean, we do this as a matter of course anyway, but I recently met with a prospect who had sat through a 2-hour presentation only to find right at the end that that vendor couldn't meet with a core requirement. So everybody can save themselves a lot of time if you just have a really quick call before you dive into that big presentation process. Okay. A quick word also about sort of commercials and contracts. Don't be afraid to talk about price. You know, it's not something to be kept under wraps until the end. You know, have a really open conversation. Because money will be involved. You know, it feels like it's a little bit of a taboo thing sometimes, but you know, you've got to know that the pricing is going to be right, and that it's really clear and transparent exactly what that price is. So how does the vendor set their pricing? We often find again that when we're having chats with prospective new customers, that it is a little bit of a minefield. Everybody does something in a slightly different way. For their software, their services, legislative updates, support, you know, so you know, there might be a menu of pricing, particularly if you're looking at a bureau style of service. So my best advice for that one is to try and get all of those prices kind of into a spreadsheet and then divide it by the number of employees so that you get that per employee per month sort of view. That's going to give you the best sort of, you know, comparison once you start getting prices proposed by lots of different providers. How long is the contract commitment? Sometimes vendors will provide better rates for longer term contracts. What contract terms are you in at the moment? Again, you'd be surprised, but many people that I talk to haven't even looked at their existing contract, and they don't know what notice period they have to give, or indeed if there's a contract renewal, or how long they're locked in with their current supplier. So again, doing your preparation work is going to make, you know, this process a lot easier. It might be that you've got a rolling notice, and then you're under a lot less pressure to meet an end date. You know, we want you to enjoy the process of the implementation and not feel like you're up against you know, a burning bridge where your existing supplier might pull support, for example. Think about your company's growth plans as well. Can the vendor accommodate different T's and C's of service? If you're going through acquisition and there might be TUPE conditions that you need to support, for example, is there a price impact of changing configuration or adding blocks of employees? So think ahead again, maybe get some price assurance from the vendor for any future changes. What happens on exit as well? That might seem really odd to ask right at the beginning of a relationship with your new vendor, but you should have that conversation about data ownership. What's going to happen at the end? What does data extract look like? Are there charges? You know, so do make sure that you're asking those questions too. So finally from me, this is the last one before I hand over to Kahini. I know everyone's going to be a lot more interested to hear from her than from me, but there will be an investment. So make sure that when you present your business case, that your senior colleagues have already approved in principle. Ask about how your company goes about choosing suppliers if you're unsure. There could be a formal procurement department, or it could be that you just need to go and get competitive quotes. Again, you know, just find out what the internal process is for your company. Demonstrate risk mitigation and compliance. If you go through all of this stuff that we've just been talking about in the last couple of slides, you should be able to demonstrate that you've been thorough in your approach. Do you anticipate concerns from your management team? Is this the right time? Is there a payback period? what are the upfront costs, how's this going to affect employees, how's it going to affect the business, and again, so all of your background work on these points should ensure that your business case is solid and will be accepted. So that sounds like a lot of work. I really hope it doesn't sound scary. We don't want it to feel scary. You should be able to create yourself a really nice checklist. And actually, there's some great guides, again, that we can give you links to that are impartial and give you some nice checklists, so that once you've been through that, you've had your project approved, you're going to be really super excited to enter the next phase when you finally meet your project team and kick off the implementation. So I'm going to hand over to Kahini now, who's going to take you through those parts of the process.
Thanks, Amanda. That was really good. I've learned a lot from your slides today. So that's brilliant. Very, very useful information. Okay, so just a bit of background. My job at Ciphr is to help companies transform their operations. So I lead the project. So I move companies from old systems that don't serve them anymore onto the new Ciphr platforms. In any implementations, we have like 6 strategic milestones. The first one is discovery. So that's phase 1. We start with your consultant will lead some workshops to gather your payroll requirements. What we need from you as a customer is to provide information. So we need to firstly understand, what do you need your payroll system to do? What are your company details, pay elements, what pension schemes you have? So how do you want that system to calculate things for you? Other than the system, we need to explain to you what employee data you need to be providing. So we give you information about that. You might receive some templates from us to take away and complete and return. Once you've got all the data over to us, we start phase 2, which is configuration. So your consultant will go away and build your system, build all your pensions, pay elements into that system for you. And the system is now ready. We've done a bit of testing, not a bit, we do thorough testing actually. And we're ready to load your data in. So all that employee data that you've gone away, you've prepped for us, it's come to us. We now load that into the payroll system. And that's like the starting point of anything we do with your parallel runs. So parallel runs is our phase 4. If you've not done implementations before, parallel runs are dummy runs that we do in our payroll system. And the goal is to be able to match your live pay slips to our Ciphr system pay slips and make sure the system is calculating correctly and your data is correct in our new system. So we normally do 2 parallel runs. The first one is to align your the new system and to align your employee data. And then the second one is more for you to get more acquainted to the new world, to become a bit more familiar with what you're doing in the payroll and understand your end-to-end process. Once your parallel runs are over, we start the live run. And this is where you're now fully fledged, you are confident, you run your live payroll. We support you with that, but you should be pretty self-sufficient at this point. And after your live run, there's a period of support from your consultant. And then after around maybe a month, we hand you over to customer care. There's project managers. So it's not the case that as soon as you've gone live, that you don't have support from the company. That support is always available. There's a whole team that is there to guide you and give you advice on anything you might need. So this is a well tried and tested approach. We do this all the time and it works. And I hope this gives you a good idea of what we do in our implementation world. So what is a parallel run? So I touched on, so that was phase 4 on the previous slide. So let's just say we're doing a parallel run in August. We load your data as at end of July. And we're talking about a monthly payroll here, not a weekly. So a monthly payroll, we load all your history as at end of July. What we then do is we're planning for an August parallel run. We import all your employee changes. For example, you might have salary changes have gone in, you might have starters and leavers. So we process all of that in our Ciphr system. We process any changes in, you might have allowances, car allowances, or recurring deductions, holiday buy, union deductions, so things like that. We process all of that. You might have one-off changes, maybe expenses need to be processed or timesheets for August need to go in. We process sickness, pensions, maternities, everything that you would have been doing in your live system for August. We have all this data into the payroll system. We just run a calculation and then we compare. So our pay slips and your live system pay slips. We do a comparison. Very, well, it's always the case we're going to find differences. Normally there's 2 types of differences. The first type is going to be maybe the system is not doing what we need it to do, in which case me as the consultant, I would go and maybe tweak some things or automate something for it to replicate what you need to happen on your payslip. The other type of difference is going to be around data. Maybe you forgot to tell us that somebody had overtime and we haven't put that in the payroll system. We work alongside yourselves. So this is a very, very collaborative time that parallel runs. So we work together with yourself to identify what is the root of those errors and then what is the right action. The end of that parallel run process is when all the pay slips have reconciled. So we go through quite a few iterations of checking pay slips, correcting, and then we check again and we correct until everything is matching to the penny. Now, once all the pay slips have matched, you get to some very exciting stuff. So you get to see some of the outputs of that payroll. You get to see a BACS file. So if you are a SaaS client and you are running your own payroll, you get a BACS file. So you get to test that BACS file and make sure it's working correctly. You get a pension file that you can go and load to your pension portal and just check it's working again. You see your payroll journal for finance, so that's a big one that needs to be reconciled, and you make sure everything's mapping to the right place. You get to see a pay slip and you get to test P45. So all the outputs are there, and it's for you to go and make sure it's all working correctly for yourself. And that should give you a lot of confidence once we go through one round of parallel run the next month. So we've done August, so in September, we do another round and just to make sure the process is coming to life. The second one is much faster because you've dealt with a lot of the system configuration issues. You've dealt with your employee data, so it's all aligned in August. So September should be much faster for you. And this is how we do 2 parallel runs normally. Some clients might need a third one. So say you're not feeling too confident after the second one. For larger clients, maybe they're a bit more complex. It's not uncommon to have a third parallel, and we do accommodate for that. So that's what happens during a parallel run. In terms of timescales, so you might be wondering, how long does a project take? On this slide, we've got an example of a client who wants to go live in December. It's almost like we work backwards from December. In September, we start with the discovery workshops, your phase 1, and then your system configuration. So we try and gather all of this in that month of September. First half of October, we load your data in, so your employee data, maybe you have year-to-date figures, tax NI, you have pensions, all that information. We load that first half of October, and then we do a first parallel run end of October. We normally aim for you to finish your payroll. So once you've finished your payroll, you are a bit more relaxed. You have a little bit more time, hopefully, after you finish your payroll, and then we start the parallel run. So we don't do it at the same time as your live payroll. We do it a little bit after you've completed your live. So we do that first parallel run at the end of October, might maybe take 1 or 2 weeks. You have a bit of a breather, you come back again end of November to do the second parallel run. Again, shorter process here, maybe maximum 10 days. And in December, you start your live processing. And you pay your employees in December as normal. And then from January, you have that post-implementation support phase 6 we talked about. So normally it is around 4 months. However, personally, I have worked on a client where we've had to give them a system within a month because their provider was end of life. So, you know, the software was going end of life. So we had to get them live in a month. And I've also had a long project which was going on for about 9 months. Nothing to do with us. It was more to do with resource availability on the customer side, and they just couldn't go live when we needed them to go live because there was no one doing the payroll. So it can carry on for that reason. So while we say 4 months is normal, it's not a one size fits all. You know, we draw the plan together. You have a project manager, and we work together with you to make sure that plan fits your needs and your priorities in your company. When to make the switch? So what is the best time to change payroll? Right, some people, they think April is the best time, it's the new year, tax year. Now, if you think about April, you know, it can be a very, very busy time for a lot of companies because you might have, you know, you're trying to do your year end for payroll, you're trying to generate P60s, you have auditors, and then you have finance who's chasing you down the corridor because you haven't balanced their books. You've also got people going on Easter holidays. I mean, some companies do their holiday year end in April, so everyone's trying to book their final days off. So it can be very busy in April, and a lot of people might think, oh, how can we fit a payroll transition in that time? But I'm here to tell you, in implementation, we have customers go live every single month of the year. So if you can't go live in April, you're going live in May, you're going live in June. Same, if you were planning to go live in April and for some reason it couldn't happen because maybe your staff was sick, or maybe you couldn't get the data over to us on time, it's really not the end of the world. You know, you can go live the month after or the month after. So it doesn't have to be April. And any other month you go live, we ask for year-to-date information. So like tax and NI, maybe some pensions, maybe benefit in kind information. And with the tax and NI, we can take your FPS and your EPS files that you send to HMRC, so your HMRC RTI files, we take those files and we import that into the payroll. So you don't even need to complete templates, you know, spreadsheets where you have to sit and calculate how much tax someone has paid. You don't even need to do that. We just need a copy of your files and we load that into the payroll and job done. So in terms of when is maybe not a good time for you to change payroll, you have to think of when is a period of peak activity in your company. As an example, you might be a theme park in July and August is your crazy months. You've got hundreds of temps coming in, you know, temporary workers. It's probably going to push your payroll team over the edge if you ask them to do an implementation at the same time. So not advisable to do that. Similarly, if you are a school and there's no one in August at all in the office, we wouldn't advise doing, you know, a go live in that month because we need you there. We are providing the payroll, but we need you there to be doing the payroll. So if there's no one in the office, we can't work, we can't do anything this end. So we need resource from customers. And some customers might think December is not a good month because it's an early pay date. So there's not a lot of time between you doing a parallel run and then doing your live process. So they avoid December. That said, I've had clients who go live in December and it's worked. So really, you need to think about the month that aligns best with your capacity and your priorities internally in your company. I would say, before I move on to the next slide, if I was a customer and I had to change payroll, my preference would be to go with a June go live. You're probably thinking, why June? It's just so random. Why June? What's special about June? The reason for a June go live is your first parallel run is April. So that means we don't have any tax year-to-dates. We don't need to submit any NI, and we don't need any benefit in kind year-to-date. It's the first tax month of the year. So it makes it a bit simpler because you have a little bit less data to provide. But again, any other month is also fine. Common worries changing providers. What do our customers feel concerned about? Maybe some questions that they raise during implementation. I like this slide, don't panic, with panic underlined, I love it, but don't panic. So we do this all the time. We have an insight of, you know, what could go wrong, or and also we do so much checking of your data. We reconcile everything. We're there to support you every step of the way. Right. So I've got 7 common worries. I'm sure there's lots more, but these are the main ones that we get asked throughout a lot of the implementations. So what data are needed for the new payroll system? So I've mentioned some of this. So we need your employee data, base data. So their name, their address, bank details, their salaries, that's the obvious one. What's important to understand is we don't need data from previous tax years for the payroll. If somebody left 2-3 years ago, we don't need to know about them. We only need your current employees in the current tax years. In fact, your leavers and current employees. So anybody who's been paid in the current tax year, that's all we need. So as mentioned, other than the employee data, if you are starting in the middle of the year, we need your tax year to date, your NI year to date. Again, we get that from your FPS files. We might need your pension information. So who is enrolled in what pension and what is their percentage contributions. We will need your benefit in kind year-to-dates if you're payrolling benefit in kind, and any recurring payments and deductions. So you might have car allowance, you might have holiday sale. So we'll need to know all of that for the payroll. Some systems, depending on the company, we might need some sickness history, and we might need some maternity history as well. So that's the data that we need for the new system. When it comes to historical data and retaining data for compliance, what this is about is, you are losing your old system, your old payroll system. What are you going to do with data that's sitting there? For example, you have pay slips, P60s. Am I losing all of this? No, you should retain them for a minimum of 6 years is what HMRC asks. The first thing you probably want to do is check with your current provider. Can they give you read-only access to that system? A lot of providers do that. So you have a read-only access and you can see all your pay slips and P60s in there. If that's not possible, then you need to get downloads of your P60s, pay slips, your payroll reports as much as you can and download them. You might need to check with your IT and your compliance teams that you are saving these things in a safe and secure area. So you need to involve them in that. So what new payroll platforms can offer you is an area where you can load your pay slips if you need. You can retain the historical pay slips into a new portal that you can view if employees want to access that way. And there's a lot of things you can do. You can find a secure drive to keep them. And as long as you've got everything saved and accessible, that's all you need. And the most efficient way is definitely to look for a read-only access to your current provider if they can offer that. Learning a new system, the customers do kind of get a little bit nervous about having to pick up a new system. It's normal. I mean, I get nervous of having a new phone or a new laptop. I do get nervous about this. However, sometimes change is inevitable. If we want to thrive, if we want to become more efficient, we need to just embrace it and just learn these new systems. What we do at Ciphr to support you, there's like a team of professionals. They guide and advise you if you've got any queries. We lead your project end to end. We're meeting all the time. We answer all your questions, so we keep you on track and we're there. We also offer training for payroll professionals or administrators or managers. If you are a SaaS customer, so you've bought our software and you're running your own payroll, we teach you how to do your payroll from start to finish. And that happens during the parallel runs. So you've had 2-3 runs. You become very well versed with everything that's in the system. So we lead you through that journey. There's also live webinars, there's video tutorials, there's help desk support. So there's a lot of information out there for new customers. And on the Ciphr payroll platform, you can have a dummy company as well, so you can practice before going live. So this is all there for you. Integration with other systems. So that's another thing that you as a customer, you need to be thinking about. You've got your payroll system. Your payroll interacts with your HR. You've got time and attendance data that is hitting payroll. You've got finance software that needs a payroll journal file from you. You have a pension portal that you need to upload pension information to. You might have a benefits portal. So your payroll has data coming to it from various places, or you might need to export data as well. So modern platforms offer API-based integration to a lot of these platforms. So you want to kind of check that you can have this. If you can't get API-based integration, most software will, you can produce CSV files, Excel files that you can import into whatever platform. So for example, you can have a pension file in CSV, and then you load that into your pension portal. Or if you have API-based software, that goes directly for you. So that's integration. And the next point with reporting to third parties like pension providers, that ties in with the integration. Again, pensions, whether it's court orders, you can easily do that by reports from the software that gives you the data in the format that you need. Employee transition is the last point on here, but it's very, very important. You've been there for weeks and months working on your new system, your payroll system. You've been doing all this work, but how is that employee experience going to be? So you need to be thinking, okay, my employee is going to have a new payslip. How am I going to approach that? How am I going to share that with them? Maybe they need some training. Or you've saved their pay slips somewhere else. They need to be aware of where to find the information that they would otherwise have looked for in the old system. Typical things: their historic pay slips, their historic P60s, and their current pay slips as well. So they need to be aware of what's happening, and you need to maybe tell them that's how your future pay slips are going to look like, just to make sure they don't see something that they're not expecting on the first payday that you go live with us. And the other thing to think about is your managers. Maybe they normally process absence or they process overtime. During that new system implementation, they might have different things to be thinking about. Maybe it's a different process to do all of that. So how are you going to approach the manager training and the rollout to the company? So these are the common concerns. If you've got any more, please drop on the Q&A, and happy to answer any that you might have. Thank you. Amanda, is that yours?
Yeah, and actually, lots and lots of questions coming in. So so you're going to be busy in the Q&A section. So in this part, this is only just going to take a couple of minutes. I just wanted to give you a couple of news flashes. Now, we do lots of other webinars and presentations to take you through the Ciphr payroll solution. Do contact me if you want to take a look at it. Obviously, I'd love to have a little session with you, a meeting with you. But Catherine will share links to our future webinars as well, or some of the older recorded ones. So just wanted to do a bit of a news flash. We are just about to launch our fabulous new HR and payroll integration dashboard. So there is a webinar on that coming up. So that we've got that seamless flow, but a lot of control for the payroll manager, so that they know exactly what's going to come into their payroll as and when, turn synchronization off and on. So yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. So excited to bring that to you soon. And also some of the new features in our payroll software: automated back pay and the automated holiday pay. So the 52-week average and the rolled up holiday pay. So if you're doing the 12.07%, then all of that is fully automated. So super exciting. So the next couple of slides are just to give you that preview of that fabulous HR integration dashboard. As I say, we've got a lot more coming on that soon, but just to show, so you can see on the top right hand side there, that synchronize button. So payroll managers will be thrilled to be able to turn that flow off and on so that that fits with their payroll cycle. And a really great audit trail as well, so that you can see what's gone through, so what's gone through on the automated synchronization, but also that ability to accept or not changes at a transactional level. So if you can see something that's waiting to be processed and you want to just push 1 or 2 bits through, then again, you absolutely have that control over it. So yeah, so great things to come. That's it from me. I'm going to hand back to Kahini now because I can see lots of really great questions coming up. So Kahini, you're back on.
Thanks, Amanda. Yeah, Kahini, come back to us and we'll start putting these questions to you. If you have any further questions for Kahini or Amanda about the selection process for a payroll provider or implementation and making that switch over, do send them in as soon as you can, because we have got quite a few to get through. So if you want us to get to your question live, do send them in. Kahini, I'm going to just run through these like pretty much top to bottom, or let's do it by upvotes. Let's start with this one. Andy asks, is there less information and data capture required during the discovery phase of implementation if we're already using Ciphyr's HR software?
Yes, so if you already are a Ciphr HR customer and your data is in HR, you don't need to provide us separate data for your employees. You know, like we already have the date of birth, we have the salaries, the contracts. There is definitely less to capture for sure. The other things that we need are going to be the standard year-to-date information if we need, but that employee-based data, and you might possibly have your allowances and deductions in there. So we will just pull that information over. So you don't need to duplicate on that work.
Okay, that's great. That's really helpful, Kahini. And for anyone interested in that integration between the HR system and the payroll system, that is a brand new integration for our brand new payroll software, and the webinar in September will talk you through a lot more that in a lot more detail. Amanda will be back. She's always on our webinars at the moment, so do join us for that if you can. So our next question, how are timesheets from an e-rostering system fed into Ciphr payroll? Can either of you talk to that?
Amanda?
Yeah, sure. So there's 2 methods. There's either going to be a CSV file upload. So the vast majority of e-rostering, time and attendance and timesheet type systems will have a payroll export. This might seem really obvious to say, but actually the employee number needs to be the same in both. Sometimes we find there's a completely different employee ID. That does give us a little bit of issue, because that's the unique identifier that we need in both of the systems, so that we can match that employee data. But yeah, so if there's a payroll export and it's CSV file, that's great. We can just upload that. Our Ciphr cloud, our cloud solution, has an open API, so it's super easy to build a seamless integration for that type of data, so that can drop straight into the payroll calculations as soon as it's ready for processing. Yeah, so 2 methods there. We'd love to explore both of those with you.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. Next question is from Alyssa. She asked, how are changes between systems captured? Would we need to dual key in information into our current system and then into the Ciphr system?
Yeah, that is correct, actually. So, and that is the reason why we start the parallel run after you've finished your live run, because there is going to be a period of you keying data into our system. And we want you to be using it exactly as you would in a live scenario. So for example, say you're going to use the payroll for, I don't know, for expenses. So we want it to be exactly, you need to be doing the same steps as you would in a live system. If we have agreed to maybe an import. So we will give you an import template that you complete, and then we can import that into the payroll. But for like employees, we normally load employees via an import file, or, you know, expenses, overtimes might go in as an import file. So yes, everything that you're doing in your live system will need to be done in the Ciphr payroll system. There is a period of dual keying for sure.
But I think, so you mentioned that we typically do 2 parallel runs now, and I think with previous systems we would have recommended doing 3. So actually that period of dual keying is reduced with just doing the 2 parallel runs. Am I remembering that right? I hope so.
Yeah. I mean, you can do 2. Some clients might say they need 3, but then after 2 they are ready. Again, you know, we're not sort of forcing you to go live. Is when you're ready.
Yeah.
But 2 or 3 are the normal number of parallel runs that we would do. Okay,
thank you. Next question from Siobhan. Our normal pay date is the 25th of the month. When would cut-off dates be changes? When would be the cut-off date for changes, please?
Again, it's very down to what the client wants to do. So we don't enforce any cut-offs. If you're doing, you say your pay date is the 25th, you would probably be looking at processing backs 2 or 3 days before, so maybe around the 22nd of the month. And from then, it's up to you to decide how long you're going to be taking to do your payroll. So most clients might say, okay, I need 8 days maybe to do payroll. So we don't dictate the timelines to clients. It's very much down to how they want to operate. Unless if you are a
it could be bureau.
Come in as a managed client. If you're a managed client, so normally it's about 10 days before payday. But again, they will look at how big is your company. You know, maybe you have some very complex processing that needs to happen. And they might say, okay, 10 days is not going to be enough. Maybe that needs to be 12 or 13 days. And similarly, if you're a smaller client, they might say, oh, I don't need 10 days. I just need 5 days. So it's very much down to, you know, how you operate as a client, the size, how many payrolls you have, how many pay groups, if you're a managed client. But if you're just getting the software, you're processing your payroll, it's all in your hands. We don't control that.
Okay, thanks very much. We've got 4 more left on my list and 2 minutes, so we'll try our best to whiz through these as quickly as possible. So another question, is it possible for Ciphr to load employees' historic pay slips from the previous software and then employees view them in the new system if we assume that we've been able to download a PDF copy of the pay slip from the previous software?
So I can take that one. So there is a payslip uploader tool in the Ciphr HR platform. So if you are a Ciphr customer, it's the Ciphr HR employee self-service. That's where you're going to be accessing the payslip, so that it's a everything is all under one roof for your employees. So yeah, there is a certain naming convention that we need on the PDF copies. And I can share that with you, but it's so that we can make sure that it's connecting to the right employees record, and also it's got the date of the payment in it as well. So there's this naming convention, but otherwise, yeah, we can do one great big historic upload of the old pay slips, so that those are all available to your employees on that transition.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Lorna asked, if they went live in April, could the old system's P60s be uploaded?
Anybody? It's similar to P6, isn't it? It's the same.
Yeah.
Same process.
Yeah, but we would not generate
in the same way.
Yeah, we would not generate them. We will just take a copy. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Simon asked about the number of parallel runs for a weekly payroll. Would that differ from a monthly payroll?
Yeah, it can be 2 or 3. Weekly payrolls, as daunting as they are, my experience of weekly payrolls is you're just loading timesheet data. So you're just loading all the information in, you're running the calc and job done. So, and maybe a bit of sickness, but it's normally 2 or 3, and it's very quick. We only have 2 or 3 days to turn this around. So it's full-time job for that week where we're just loading the data, doing the comparison. But we've done it. You know, the biggest one I've had was maybe about 1,200 employees on the weeklies. It's fast, and we do 2, maximum 3. Again, it's up to the point where you feel confident that, okay, I can do this, I can go live.
Okay, thank you very much. And we're going to start our final answer now because I realise we've run out of time. We touched on post-implementation support. Is there a period of hypercare once you move from the sort of pre-go live to live?
Yeah, so normally it's, if you've gone live in August, you might have a consultant until the end of August. That said, Catherine, let's say I promised to give you a report. It's down there on the scoping document, but I haven't given that to you. I will make sure that's done for you. So it's not like, oh, I'm just dropping off the surface of the earth at the end of the month. If there are things that I've promised you, it will get done. So there's no drop dead sort of timeline. We will deliver everything we've promised. And then after that is done, you go to customer care, and there's so many professionals there. They know the payroll inside out, so they should be able to support you. And if they can't, it comes back to consultants at that point if they can't support you.
Yeah, fantastic. That's one of the benefits of like working with someone where the consultants are in-house and on staff permanently, because we can loop back round to the consultants if we need your support, or for things like this, for knowledge sharing and that kind of stuff. So it's great to have you on board. Right, I think that brings us to the end of the broadcast today. Thank you, Amanda and Kahini, for fielding all those questions and sharing lots of information. I've definitely learned a lot about the implementation process and journey. So I'm not fully qualified yet, but I'm definitely a lot more informed than I was an hour ago. Thank you to everyone for joining us today. We hope you've really enjoyed it and found it useful. If you would like more information about any of our solutions, whether that's payroll or HR or anything else, you can email us at info@ciphr.com, or you can use the exit form that you'll see on your screen to opt in for more information. You can also use that form to give us a review and tell us what you thought about today and any tips for improving for next time. So thanks very much. We hope to see you all at another Ciphr webinar again soon. But otherwise, take care and have a great rest of your day. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.